And welcome back to Saddle Up with Steve and Jay, right here on the Horse Racing World Channel. And joining me as usual, my business partner in this venture, one of the top 25 handicappers of 2025, Mr. Steve Pollack. Good afternoon, Steve. Not good evening. You can actually see the light. We're doing this in the daylight.
We are, and you just keep coming up with these great introductions, and I can't wait for next time. I've got to be prepared. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Interesting time right now, Jay. I know you and I are huge fans of the racing at Saratoga and the racing at Del Mar, and it really going to be some of the best racing that we're going to see all year. I think it's the best racing that we will see other than the Breeders' Cup, and we will see all the preps for that. But boy, oh boy, we've got some great racing to talk about, some phenomenal racing at Churchill Downs. We're going to talk a little bit about the Losal Derby, but the Churchill Downs racing, phenomenal. We're going to see the horse of the year from last year in Torpedo Anna, and we're going to talk about her last race a little bit, talk perhaps about that race, and we're going to talk about the Clark and a couple other stakes races at Churchill Downs. Looks exciting to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, all the attention is on Churchill this week. The Belmont card is, not a top card. They don't want to put on their best stuff opposite the Clark when you have all these great stakes races. This is, one of the two big race days at Churchill Downs. Of course, the big one being the Kentucky Derby Day, but this is probably second. Looking forward to going over all of that. We'll start, Steve, with let's touch on the Los Alamitos Derby, though. And the Los Alamitos Derby, it runs Saturday, and it's not quite the event that it was in the past, but it's still always competitive, and it's always usually dominated by one Mr. Bob Baffert. So let's just talk briefly about that. We unfortunately we wanted to drop this on Wednesday to give our viewers a chance to see this a little bit sooner, but Los Alamitos doesn't post all the past performances until Thursday. So. In this case, I'm just going to kind of give out the horses that are expected to run, and we'll just make some brief comments, if any. These are not all confirmed. Bob Baffert has four potential entries in there, and the first one is Nevada Beach. Nevada Beach was ridden last time by Juan Hernandez, ran in the Affirmed Stakes at Santa Anita, finished a good second with a nice speed figure, 102. So Nevada Beach will certainly be a contender if he goes. I do not expect all four Bafferts that are nominated to go, but Nevada Beach, I would say, is one of the better ones.
Yeah, he certainly looked good the last time out, and this is a pretty lightly raced horse, and we know how these Bafferts can improve. And Jay, he's done some amazing things coming out of this race, the Losal Derby, including horses that have gone on to win the Travers. So certainly a race that we want to take seriously and really watch these horses. And who knows, maybe this is a year that we could perhaps make a bet. I know that it's been a while since I've liked anybody enough to really make a bet in this race. It hasn't really been a great betting race, but this is a horse that's certainly young and improving, and is certainly going to be one worth watching.
Yeah. And also in the race is the horse that beat him last time in the Affirmed, and that's Gaming. Gaming, of course, is the most experience and the most accomplishments of his career, starting at Del Mar, very precocious, winning the Del Mar Futurity last year, a Grade 1 race. And I have to think this is more of a prep for Del Mar because he just loves that track than anything else. Was also in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, finished a good second last year when the other Baffert, wound up caving at the end, and Gaming kind of picked up some pieces. So he's had some nice high figures. The 105 speed figure earned in the last race is the best of these, and I think Gaming will take some beating if he goes.
Yeah, he looked really good last time, Jay, and I think that this horse is going to go either one or two directions. The one thing about Del Mar is they really don't have a big 3-year-old dirt race. So the winner of this race either heads back east, which there's several choices back there at Saratoga, at Monmouth. We know the big race is back there. Or this horse could perhaps, a horse maybe running third or not running so hot in this race could perhaps run in the El Cajon Stakes, which is a $100,000 stake race. Or they could run against older horses in the Pacific Classic. We're not sure who's going to go in there. Might be a salty group because a lot of these horses are going to be prepping for the Breeders' Cup. But Baffert's had horses that have gotten good enough at this time of the year that are 3-year-olds that are lightly raced that could all of a sudden end up showing up in there. So So not really sure where these horses are going to end up after this. I guess a lot of it will depend on their performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have Tis Secure, the third Bob Baffert of the bunch. That one was also ridden by Juan Hernandez last time, while Gaming was ridden by Hector Barrios. It looks like Hernandez will have to make a choice if they both go. Tis Secure broke maiden at first asking with a nice big speed figure of 104, and then ran in the Pasadena Stakes and ran a respectable fourth considering jumping right from a straight maiden. Last time went in an allowance optional claiming, finished third, but a nice 105 speed figure tying Gaming. So Tis Secure is one of Bob's younger ones that has plenty of room for development.
Absolutely. Looks very similar. I mean, those two horses, actually, all three of those horses are looking pretty similar coming into this race. Things are all pretty close together there, Jay. So it's going to be interesting to see which one's ready to go.
Yeah, and then you have Rank. This one is trained by Doug O'Neill with Antonio Frizou scheduled to ride. Rank was third in that affirmed stakes behind the two Bafferts, finishing with a very respectable 101 speed figure. This one's had a long career. Took Rank quite a while to break his maiden, but it looks like this one is of stakes caliber. Whether he's going to be, a graded stakes type, it's a little too soon to tell. Ran in the Los Alamitos Futurity back in December and finished fourth there while still a maiden, and finished well behind Gaming in the Del Mar Futurity last fall. So it's kind of hard to see Rank winning this race, but he can be a factor.
Yeah, maybe pick up a piece in here for sure. These horses can get better in a hurry, but boy, Baffert's absolute domination of this race makes me think that this one's probably going to be a pass for me.
Yeah. And speaking of passes and speaking of factors, we have It's a Factor. It's a Factor is trained by Antonio Garcia. Antonio Garcia is probably best known. He kind of picks up the extra Redham racing horses that don't go to the bigger barns. Redham racing horses were typically ridden by Mario Gutierrez, and Mario, of course, shifted his tack out to the Midwest. So Ricardo Gonzalez gets this one for Garcia. It's a Factor. Has never run in a stakes race. Broke his maiden in a claimer and has been running in optional claimers ever since. Finished second once and generally third, fourth, fifth. This one, if there's one complete toss in the race, It's a Factor. Looks like he's not going to be one.
Yeah, I agree.
And then finally, the other Baffert, another one with young potential, and that's Varney. And this one was also written by Hector Barrios last time. So you kind of think maybe both Hernandez ridden horses and both Barrios ridden horses, maybe only one of each will go. But there's plenty of jocks out there looking if the owners want to run them both. This one has run four starts and finished first once, finished third once. In the last start, broke his maiden with kind of a pedestrian 91. Yeah, I can see this one, cracking the superfecta in a short field, but real hard to see this one stepping up to win off the scant experience.
Yeah, no real comment on this horse, but I will comment on the fact that I do see some improvement with Hector Barrios on the dirt. I thought he rode really well. Even for Sue, I thought, for Sue's always been a pretty good dirt rider, but I thought both of those guys had good meets. And for those of you that are exclusively betting those guys on the turf, I would take a good look at those guys on the dirt when they get to Del Mar, because I think both of them can ride.
Yeah, and it's really Hector's opportunity. You always had various jocks that didn't quite get their share of mounts in the big meets because there were so many, and you always had jocks that were kind of specialists out here at Los Alamitos over the years. And I'm sure you can think of a couple of those names, Steve, because I'm blanking right now.
Pedroza.
Pedroza, of course, yes. Pedroza.
We'll go back to Fairplex when David Flores and Martin Pedroza used to win every race. That was an incredible time. I really enjoyed my years out there. And unfortunately, this meet hasn't quite lived up to what was so quaint about the Fairplex meet itself. But what's nice about the Los Al meet right now is, Jay, we've had more horses than I've seen in 5 or 6 years. And I think a lot of that has to do with the Golden Gate horses that came down, and we're just seeing more maybe a horse or a horse and a half. I haven't written it down, but as far as total entries, when you see 5, 6, 7 horse fields, it's just so tough. And it's been nice to see the bigger fields in some of these races. And I think you'll see more of that Friday. There's a couple of fuller type fields, and Saturday, a couple. I haven't seen the entries for Saturday, but certainly last week, the first 3 days, the field sizes were better than what they've been.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's great to have top class racing, and we've been spoiled with that in Southern California over the years. But at a certain point, you want to be able to make a competitive bet, and to do that, you need a competitive field with enough runners to, make it worth your money. So, even if the horses we're getting from Golden Gate aren't the best in town, it's an interesting and fun race to watch, and it's these are kind of races where, two or three of them have a chance, and maybe you can get a price.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Speed's been very good so far, as you would expect. Maybe a little bit higher percentage of speed horses. They haven't run a whole lot of route races, mostly 6 and 5.5 furlong races, but speed has been very good. The inside hasn't been bad too. There've been several horses down on the inside that holding that position. So that outside position where they're moving over, showing speed, has not necessarily been an advantage, which could change once they get to Del Mar. Certainly something we're going to be talking about in 2, 3 weeks. But I think for Low Sal, I do think you're looking for if you're looking for winners there, you got to be looking for horses that are going to be showing some speed.
No question about it, Steve. And Del Mar, of course, caters to that. And we'll talk more about that. We'll have a Del Mar preview show opening week, which you'll be hosting, and we can get more into details about the biases there and what advantages and what angles viewers can look at to hopefully give them the advantage.
Yeah, to have a better meet there, or to have a good meet there, I do think you need to adjust. And I think Los Al, I don't know that there's big changes in Los Al or big changes at Santa Anita. And when we get to Del Mar, it's really a different story. I think Del Mar is a track where you really need to keep your eyes open, like Saratoga. I think Saratoga, shows some days where, very surprisingly, the Belmont Stakes Day, other than the Met Mile race, that track was dominated by horses coming from off the piece, which really threw me off because Saratoga as a whole is generally a lot more speed favoring. So keeping an eye on the track, keeping your finger on the pulse of what's happening out there. Is there a track bias? Is there a difference? It's a big deal for me. I think it's a big part of handicapping that can still give you an advantage if you're really seeing what's going on out there. And I don't think you see it as much at Los Al and at Santa Anita, but we will definitely see some of those changes when they get to Del Mar.
Yeah, no question about it. And of course, the weather is always a factor, and it's always a factor at Saratoga, and it's almost never a factor at Del Mar. So, it's something that makes handicapping more of a challenge, and we have to be up for that challenge. We want to make a few dollars.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to agree with you there, Jay. We got a lot of very consistent weather. The only thing that's really inconsistent at Del Mar, some days are overcast, some days it's clear as a bell. We get a few days where we get some wind. Maybe we get a Santa Ana, but mostly the wind is coming from off the ocean there. But with all those changes, it's still very hard to put your finger on what causes the changes there. But again, we'll talk about that in that show in a couple of weeks when we're going to preview Del Mar. Those are things that I will be glad to go into and maybe give you folks some more details on what to look for.
Absolutely. And since Del Mar is right in your backyard, there's nobody more qualified to give those tips than you, Steve.
Well, I've sat up there on the fourth floor for 20 years. I didn't renew my box a few years back because I just haven't been going as much. I found that it's just better for me to stay at home and play. So I've become a living room downs guy, which I'm sure a lot of you have as well. But it is something at Del Mar that I still look at very, very seriously, trying to adjust to the changes as you're going through a card, especially in the dirt races there, because there can be days when it is all outside and the rail is absolutely dead. And there are days when you can close, and there are days when it's all speed. And if you can figure that out, that's why I'm a huge fan of the late pick four, because by then I have all my factors that I put in, but I can also add that, what is this track playing like? Is there a track bias today? If there's not, that's fine. Then I'm back where I was before. And I never lock in, never ever lock in there and say, it was this way the day before, because there are a lot of days when it changes. And I again, I'm not sure. I know there's a lot of people that think it's the tides and what have you. There's a lot of reasons that it could change, but I'm not really sure if I could tell you what the reasons are. I've tried to do everything I can with tides, with weather, and what have you. And I think it's just a little bit of randomness to it where you can actually say, hey, man, oh man, you can't be inside today. You've got to be outside, or you've got to be closing, or you got to be up front. And I don't know that there's any rhyme or reason to it, but it is a fact.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Steve, let's dig into that Churchill card. That's the main reason for this podcast because it's such a nice card. And we're going to focus on two races, and I'm actually going to give out a third race of my race of the week. And you'll be giving out a third race, but from Los Alamitos. But we're going to talk about two races in common. And let's look at the Fleur de Lis. The Fleur de Lis is basically the feature race because Torpedo Anna, last year's Horse of the Year and 3-year-old filly champion, is running in it. And for those who have been following Thorpedo Anna's career, you know she ran an uncharacteristic dud last time. So I'm going to show two segments of the race. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but I'm going to show the beginning, I'm going to show the end, and then we can talk about it a little bit. So let's go to video.
Hey, Jay, while the people are watching this video, what I'd like for them to look at is look at the beginning of this race when the announcer really overstates the trouble that Torpedo Anna has. He's just saying that she's just in a world of trouble. And to me, watching this race, I watched the head on, which we're a little bit off from the head on, but I watched the head on. I watched the normal view right here, and I saw about a length worth of trouble. And you know, this is the kind of trouble that a lot of horses have in every race. I'm not saying she didn't have any trouble, but I am saying that the excuse that they made, you know, especially after the race, some of the people talking about the races at Churchill Downs, they were making excuses for what happened early, and I didn't think it was a big factor. So go ahead and run it, and you folks can make your own opinion.
Yeah, we'll find out. I'll go ahead and leave the audio up in the beginning and then I'll mute it. We can talk a little bit and then we'll talk more about it at the end. So here we go with the La Troyenne.
Off with the line, Troyenne.
Everybody gets away cleanly.
Well, randomized and Thorpedo Anna right there too, and North Vader is away running with speed to the inside to join the fray, and she's trying to squeeze through on the rail, while randomized is going to make the front going into that.
So you saw the trouble. At least you saw the traffic, and the traffic didn't seem to be, overly, as you said, Steve, overly troublesome because it didn't seem to take a lot out of her. She's still very prominent at this point. And now we'll go ahead and skip away until a spot coming down the stretch, and we'll see what happened there. Many of our fans have already seen this, but let's show that part again. Okay, and here it comes. Thorpedo Anna is still in the thick of it, but she's starting to lose it. She's fading. She's kind of giving up and caving late, and everybody's passing her. And you'll see Taxt, who is in the race we're going to talk about, the Fleur de Lis, as one of those horses passing her now. But she's just got nothing left in the tank. And Steve, let's talk about why.
Well, you know what? I mean, she did come back very quickly for this race, Jay. You know, this is a horse. They don't fire every single time. And the difficult thing is what do I do with her next time? Is there a possibility that something went amiss with her where I could play against this horse again? And the answer to that would be yes, but I would want more of a better pace scenario in here. In other words, to me, it doesn't look like a whole lot of horses of these five that they're really going to be a real hard fought early part of this race. She's had a lot of time since that last race. That was May 2nd. She's almost had 2 full months. Very, very good trainer in Kenneth McPeak. The workouts look steady and look very good on paper. I didn't hear from any of the clockers back there how the works look. Maybe that's important to you. It certainly is important. But to me, it makes it a tough race to bet because the other horses look pretty similar to me. I could see somebody stepping up here a little bit. But if she goes back and runs the races that she'd been running before, it's going to make it very tough. And the fact that she has a pace edge, if somebody was going to go head and head, or I knew somebody was going to be in front of her, I would like this race a little bit more. But for me, this is a typical race with 5 horses and a big favorite where I think it's going to be pretty tough to squeeze any money out of. What do you think, Jay?
Maybe so, Steve. I have to look at, what happened and why she ran such a bad race because Yeah, every horse can throw in a clunker. I mean, Zenyatta never did, but for the mere mortal horses among them, it's not uncommon that you're going to have a bad race. And you have to look at, obviously she tried to get through a hole, and it was tough getting through, so she was bumped a little bit. And you have to ask yourself, was that significant enough where it just made her completely lose all her will to run and just fade at the end? And like you said, Steve, it didn't seem like it was the most significant amount of trouble, and the race caller seemed to probably play that up a little bit more. Sometimes you just need a story. And but she seemed to be running well within herself mostly throughout the race. She was pressing the pace most of it. She was in the second spot, just off the pace setter for most of the race, and then just had nothing in the stretch. So you have to kind of ask yourself, okay, why did that happen? Did she just run a dud? Or is there something more going on? They sent her for a battery of tests because this is one of the most valuable fillies on the planet, and they're not going to take a chance if there's something physically wrong. And she passed all the tests with flying colors, so it's not that. But what I can tell you, Steve, is if you look at the races she's run, she's now had three back. And even if you want to throw out that disaster last time, she had a 95 and a 94 wrist speed figure. And if you average the three figures since she came back, it's been a 92. And normally the third race off the layoff, and we haven't really touched on form cycles in a while, but normally the most common form cycle is your third race off the layoff is the best. That's usually the peak. It's not true with every horse, but it's true with more horses than not. And obviously, that was nowhere near her best. In her best, in the Breeders' Cup, she ran by comparison a 107 speed figure in the Breeders' Cup. And even then, people were saying, well, it didn't look like it was her best race. She's capable of better than that. So when she's averaging a 92 for the year, and you want to compare her to some of these other horses that she's going to be facing tomorrow, she'll be facing Taxed again. Taxed ran a 95 last time. And then you have Royal Spa and Jin Jin. And Royal Spa ran 101. I mean, that was, 9 points better than Torpedo has been averaging. Save time, in my opinion, is a complete throwout. I wouldn't waste a penny on save time. But anyway, I do like those two horses, Royal Spa and Jin Jin. And last time when they faced each other in the Shawnee, Royal Spa was actually the better price, was a $13 price. With Flavian Pratt getting aboard, where Jin Jin was, I believe, the second choice at 3 to 1. And it's still a slightly better price on Royal Spa at 4 to 1. With Flavian aboard and considering all the money that Torpedo Anna's going to take, I'm kind of liking the chances of Royal Spa as far as a bit of a value play.
Hmm. I mean, I could see it. She's 4 to 1. It's a short field. She can definitely win. But to me, what you're hoping for, if you're a Royal Spa fan or better, is that someone's going to press Torpedo Anna. Because if they don't press Torpedo Anna and she comes back to her previous races, and to me, I didn't even love her Breeders' Cup race. I thought the Breeders' Cup race, I thought there were horses that day, and obviously there were horses that day because there were some big horses, but there was a filly mare race that was run earlier in the card that day for those that didn't want to face Torpedo Anna. I thought that race was better. There was a Baffert that won that race. I thought that race was better than what she ran. So, and then the race before that, the coalition that she ran at Parks, she didn't really fire that day. She could have got beat at 1 to 9 in that race. The big race for her was the race against the boys where she beat Sierra Leone and Fierceness. And I don't know that she's ever run as big a race to me on numbers she has on Brisnet figures. On Thoroughgraph and Rag, she has declined a little bit. But I still think if she comes back and runs the previous races that she'd been running with a pace advantage, she's going to be tough. And I just don't think it's enough of a price for me to get involved with those other four horses.
Oh, yeah, I can certainly understand that because, if she's anywhere close to what she's shown in the past, she eats this field for lunch. There's just no comparison. But at the same time, I'm kind of drawn back to two fillies that I've kind of followed over the years. And one of them was, of course, the great Rachel Alexandra. And Rachel Alexandra, had, the most brilliant 3-year-old career one could ever have. And then, they decided to give her a rest, and that rest turned out to be a lot longer than they expected because it was monsoon weather at the fairgrounds where she was stabled, and she could barely get out in that track to work for nearly 2 months. And yeah, I'll always say that the Rachel Alexandra that came back after that was never in the same condition, and I just don't know what she would have been if she could have maintained a normal training schedule and not sitting around and eating oats and carrots and enjoying life. Yeah, I think these horses are athletes, as we know, and athletes have to be on a physical fitness edge, and because of the conditions, she couldn't be. The other one is Untappable, also trained by Steve Asmussen, interestingly enough. And Untappable was the 3-year-old filly champion and came back and like Rachel Alexandra at 4, didn't look like the same filly for some reason. He brought her back for a few races at age 5. That was a terrible decision. I mean, he should have learned from the 4-year-old year. But Untappable, another great filly. So sometimes I think more with fillies than with colts, Steve. The peak years come early. And I hope we haven't seen the peak of Torpedo Anna because racing could really use a boost with Torpedo Anna and the nice 3-year-old crop we have to really get some interest going again.
Can't argue with you there, but she's just a 4-year-old. Very good connections. It's just one race. And we're talking about from an investment standpoint. That's what I'm talking about. Do I see a way to play this race for somebody else? Because if I'm betting anybody else, what I'm worried about right off the bat with only 5 horses is the pace. The horses that look the best to me look like they need something to run at, and I'm running out of horses. It just looks to me like Torpedo Ann is going to get loose, and then she's got to not fire her best shot. And then which one do I choose from there? So to me, the race becomes a pass.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's talk about the reason why we're having this podcast, the feature race, the Clark, and it's a formidable field here. And well, let's do what we usually do on the big races, like we did in the Triple Crown. Let's each take a horse, starting from the rail, and then we'll give our picks at the end. Steve, you want to go first with First Mission?
Yeah, it's Stephen Foster, right?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you
Did I
said
say the Clark?
they're very similar races.
Oh, they are. Sorry.
You've been watching races for a long time. You know the big races of the year are the Clark and the Foster, and I could easily get them mixed up for sure. Anyway, First Mission to me has always been a horse that's been bet and never really lived up to his potential. 5 years old now. I don't know how he's going to get any better. It was a pretty impressive effort in the Oaklawn Handicap last time, but boy, oh boy, is this horse overbet every time. 4-1 is probably right in here. At least he can be tactical, and Saez is perfect on a horse like this. I'm going to try to beat him today. I think he's a good horse, but I think it's going to take a very good horse to win this race.
I agree. It's a formidable field indeed. So I'll go on to. I will say I do think that First Mission, has been one of the leading older horses for a while now, and has a win over the track. Was 4th in this race, kind of faded pretty badly at the end last year, and I do look at it and I wonder. Is a mile and an eighth more than he wants to go ideally? Yeah, he's won twice at a mile and an eighth, but is his idle distance probably more like a mile and a 16th or a mile, considering, maybe he just has more punch at the shorter distance? But we're going to find out. He's been ridden last time by Flavian Pratt, who rode him to victory in the Oaklawn Handicap. He doesn't get Flavian today, but certainly no slouch in Luis Saez taking over, who's ridden him several times in the past. So First Mission for Brad Cox and Saez. Yeah, I could see him hitting the board. Moving on to number 2 here, let's look at Mindframe. Mindframe from Todd Pletcher and Arad Ortiz, who's ridden him in every one of his starts. Just got going a little too late to make the Kentucky Derby last year, but ran a terrific bang-up race in the Belmont. Making the lead at the top of the stretch, and then just fading a little bit at the end to Dornock, who had a fine career himself. And Mindframe, that was his first time going a mile and a quarter, and first time in a stake. So you can certainly understand him getting a little bit tired. Ran his career best brisk speed figure, 105. And this year, and then ran a strong second in the Haskell before, again, to Dornock, who was just his nemesis, before going on the shelf. This year's had 2 races, two comeback races, a grade two and a grade one, won them both. In the Gulfstream Mile, just kind of pressed the pace every step and made the lead early and drew off handily. And then in the Churchill Down Stakes, a grade one over this track, over a sloppy track, he showed he can handle the slop. Just for whatever reason, did not break as well as he usually did. I don't know if that was by design, but he was hanging toward the back most of the way and just flew late. Gave that express train ride, as Trevor Denman would say, and came on to win his first grade one by a neck. So I think Mindframe is a very formidable challenger today.
Yeah, this is my horse in the race. I really like this horse today, and I think this guy has a really good chance to move to the top of the handicap division. And I'm going to tell you why here. If you just look at the first two races this horse ran, both very good. And then when he comes into the Belmont, the thing about betting him in the Belmont, there was a lightly raced horse that I liked a little bit in the Belmont this year that didn't go forward. But one of the things that this horse didn't do in that race was he was just green. Remember, he was kind of all over the track in the stretch. So he really cost himself the race there in the Belmont. And then when he ran in the Haskell, he stumbled at the break, and that cost him the race. He got the lead there, and both times Dornoch came back and beat him at the end. And he actually had passed Dornoch in the Belmont Stakes. Go back and look at the two races and look at how professional. I watched both of them on tape. Broke from the rail at Gulfstream, which is a tough thing to do. Breaking from the rail in that one-turn mile, you're way down on the inside. Ortiz was able to get him off the rail into the middle of the track, and then he just very, very easily just passed those horses. And I thought last time was super impressive. Nisos, we know, is a really nice horse that you and I have been waiting to come back, and he was able to beat Nisos in that race. He galloped out well. I think he's going to handle the distance, and I think this is a very, very good chance. Right now, to me, the best horse in the country is Fierceness. Even though he lost last time, he lost because of the way the race shape was. He lost to a really good speed horse that not that many people realize how good they are. And I think Fierceness has that tactical speed that Mindframe has, that when we get to these other horses, they don't have. So I'm pretty strong on Mindframe. I'm going to single him and some exotics in here. I don't love the exactas in this race. What I love is singling this horse in some of the late pick four, pick five type thing. That's what I'm going to do with Mindframe.
All right. So, Steve, you're up. What do you think of Skippy Longstocking's chances?
I don't like him. I didn't like the race that he came out of in the Gold Cup. I didn't like him before. He got beat by 7 lengths in the Oaklawn race. A lot of dances for this guy. He's getting older. And I thought he really struggled to win that Santa Anita race at 4-5 against. I didn't think that field was that strong. I was trying to beat him that day too. But to me, Skippy Longstocking is very beatable in here today.
Yeah, I mean, the last race was a strong one in the Gold Cup out here. Beat our horses, our local horses, pretty easily under Arad Ortiz, but Arad goes to Mindframe, so little brother Jose takes over the mount. And Jose's ridden this one before to victory, so he's well familiar. This one's 11 for 32 lifetime, and I don't think he's quite at the end of his rope yet. He was 3 for 8 last year. He's 2 for 4 this year, and he's really good at the distance. He's 5 for 15 a mile and an eighth. I think just like Mindframe, a mile and an eighth might be their optimal distance, and Fierceness as well. But I think the difference is Mindframe can go longer, and the other two can't. I think Fierceness can go a mile and a quarter, but I think he's much better at a mile and an eighth than he is at a mile and a quarter or a mile. So I think Skippy Longstocking's getting the trip he wants today, but he has not been fond of Churchill. He's had 2 races over the track. Best he could muster was a third. So I would have to say Skippy Longstocking is probably up against it on the win end. He's a talented horse still, but there are just more talented horses in this race.
Yeah, just not a horse that I like. I didn't like that Santa Anita race. I thought he really got challenged in there. I thought Midnight Mammoth was done around the turn, but he kept trying. And I thought Skippy Longstocking had to really be extended to win that race. So I'm passing on Skippy Longstocking in here for sure.
Yeah. And then we come to last year's 3-year-old champion, and that's Sierra Leone. Of course, trained by Trad Brown and ridden for the last 5 starts by Flavian Pratt. And there was just a huge difference when Flavian took over from Tyler Gaffleone, who's certainly no slouch. He's one of the best riders in the country, and wishing him luck on that recovery. He should be coming back soon. He's been out for a while. That was a nasty accident he had. But when Flavian took over, I think the one change that he made was after the first race, he gradually started putting him into the race more quickly. And where under Tyler, he was just going from very far back, and often he would just run out of ground. It's not like he didn't win. He won the Bluegrass. He won the Risen Star. But a couple of other races to Dornoch and to Mystik Dan, he just left himself too much to do. So since Flavian took over, putting him in the race much sooner, pressing the pace, at least in a couple of cases, like as in the Travers. He did come from far back in the Breeders' Cup, but there was a lot of speed that day, and it made sense not to have him burn up on the pace. The race that came back was respectable. It was an evenly paced race where he was basically third most of the way. Never really tried to kick it in. I mean, despite being bet down to minuscule odds. I think, Steve, we've been around long enough to know that when a horse is coming off the shelf, they've never tightened all the screws on these talented horses like that. So basically, if Sierra Leone could have won that just on his own natural ability, they would have been fine with it, but they had bigger fish to fry, like today. And so I think Sierra Leone, with his 114 brisk speed figure in the Breeders' Cup Classic, will be a very formidable foe for Mindframe to take on.
Yeah, I don't like him today, Jay. And the reason I don't like this horse is the same reason that I think he's lost a lot of his other races, is that he doesn't have any tactical speed. You're saying that Pratt's putting him in the races. I'm saying that the paces were much slower in those races. When I look at the Brisnet numbers for early pace, which are numbers that I really respect, they do a fantastic job of early pace numbers. And I just don't think Sierra Leone has that much speed. He was that far behind in the Breeders' Cup Classic because that's where he wants to be. He's a late runner. There's no speed in this race. He's going to be favored. He didn't run very good off the layoff. Maybe he runs a little bit forward today, but he's going to have to run a lot faster. I think Mindframe is a better horse. I think he's going to be a better horse. And I think Mindframe beats him today. And I'm going to pass on Sierra Leone. And again, I don't love the exotics in this race because I'm mostly passing on the other horses. The way I'm playing this race is to single Mindframe going through here. But I do not like Sierra Leone to win this race. He wins it. I'm wrong. That's okay. I'm wrong more than 50% of the time. I think the value is going to be in playing is going to be in playing against him today.
Yeah, and certainly the one time they met head to head in the Belmont, Mindframe beat him on the square by a length. So
And he
there's
was
certainly.
goofy
Hmm?
and was acting out. It was all over the track. I mean, he didn't have his stuff together like he does now. I
Yeah.
think this horse has taken a step forward in his two races. And that's why I'm going to be really bullish here on Mindframe. This horse, I can see it. I see it on tape. Sometimes you see it on paper. I see it in the sheet numbers. But this time I'm actually in watching the races and watching them play back. I'm just seeing this horse mature right in front of our eyes. And I think this division, there can be a horse that could really take over. And I think it can happen in this race with this horse.
All right, Steve, what do you think of Mystik Dan's chances? Will we ever see anything like his Kentucky Derby performance again?
His last race was pretty darn good. He did not run badly in that race. I went back and watched it, and I watched the race against Stouty Crown, where he lost a nose in the race before that. I mean, this horse is definitely getting back, and he obviously loves it here. It seems like McPeak has this guy going in the right direction after three absolutely dismal performances. Um, I don't like him to step up today. The fact that he's 3-1 and Mindframe is 7-2. I mean, I think Mindframe beats him 8 out of 10 times, maybe 9 out of 10 times, and I'm getting a better price. So again, I'm going there, but this horse has really improved in his two efforts this year, and 2 out of 3, his last two being very good. And Hernandez is on him. Obviously, he likes it here. It wouldn't shock me. I'm going to try to beat him as well.
Okay. And then we'll go to number six, Hit Show, the mild upset winner of the Dubai World Cup. Hit Show's got the 55% share of 12 million floating around in his pocket, so he's probably saying, "Hey, I don't need to run. I got plenty of bucks." But nevertheless, Hit Show, definitely is a horse that's been consistent. He's actually won 5 of his last 7 races. Done a little bit of that Santa Anita where he won, where he finished third in the big cap, so he didn't make a lot of money there. The Santa Anita is not his favorite track. And he also ran over here in the Clark, the race I mistakenly called this, and was third in that one as well. But he does have 2 wins over the Churchill track. So Hit Show is fond of the track, where maybe he's not so fond of Churchill. It may not be his favorite track, but he likes it here. You get Fleur and Giroux for Brad Cox, and at 9-2, I gotta think he's at least a factor for the exotics.
I gotta tell you, I still feel for the people who bet Mixto in that Dubai World Cup. I mean, that had to be the longest stretch and the worst beat. It looked like he was home for sure, and Hit Show just absolutely came flying when he didn't pick his feet up in the Santa Anita handicap. So, which Hit Show is going to show up at 6 years old, coming off of that big race? It's Brad Cox. I'm going to pass on him. Would he shock me? No. But I think this horse has been below the best, and I think we're going to see a horse again that I think could be the best in the division, certainly someday. And I think the horse is going to have its coming out party. But I'm going to try to beat Hit Show. It's not a horse that I think is going to run his best race today, but he's shown he's got some efforts in the past that can win it. He's a real in and outer. I'm passing on him today.
All right, Steve, and finally, number 7, Ashcroft. Any chance to do anything against this field?
Field feller. That's all I can say. I love Dwayne. I'm rooting for him at times. Not this time. I don't see this horse. This is a horse that I really thought was good out at Santa Anita, 3, 4, 5 races back. But just doesn't look like he's headed in the right direction at 5. I don't expect him to get any better. Maybe this horse will press the pace. Maybe that's their best chance, stretching out from a 1-turn mile. But I like nothing about Ashcroft in this race.
Yeah, this is just a very talented field, and he looks by far the worst of them, and that's why he's 30-1. I would be shocked if he even made the super high 5, Steve. Yeah, I think that little of him. Not that the horse is, a complete disaster, but he's not graded stakes material. His last win came an optional claimer, and frankly, that's probably where he belongs. Maybe some minor listed stakes in Turf Paradise or something, but these waters are way too deep for Ashcroft. So, Steve, it's that time. It's time to give our 3 picks. Who's your third best choice here on this in this big race?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to have a third best choice in this race, to be honest with you, because I really like one horse so strongly over the others. So this isn't going to be I'm going to go with Skippy Longstocking as my third horse in this race. I don't think this horse is going to run as the best bang up race, and I think this horse is okay. I'm going to put him third.
Okay. I'm going to go with Hit Show. I think what he showed in Dubai was just a huge, huge heart. And, coming from behind, mow some of those down. I think Hit Show at 5 years old might be hitting his peak. I think he's still getting better, where some horses we've talked about today might not be getting better and might be on the descent. So I think Hit Show, ride this guy while he's hot. I think he hits the board.
All right. Second horse for me is going to be First Mission from the rail. Pretty inconsistent. Couple of times this horse hasn't run his best race, but I think this horse will run well today. Looks like he's in good shape. It's another Brad Cox runner. Again, I'm taking a little stand against Sierra Leone. He's not going to be in my top 3. First Mission going to be my second horse.
Okay, my second horse is going to be Mindframe, and I certainly concede that he can win this race. He's got by far more tactical speed than the other big contenders in here. He's 4 for 6. Looks like a brilliant horse that's only going to get better. And a win today would be no surprise. Mindframe is my second choice, and I'd almost make him a 1A.
All right. I'm not arguing with that.
Okay, but now it's time for your top pick.
Well, it's Mindframe. I mean, that's obviously the horse I like. I mentioned it 4 or 5 times. I think this horse is tactical. I think he comes into it. I love the way he ran his last 2 races. I think he's going to be better at this distance. He showed in the Haskell and he showed in the Belmont how much talent he has. The greenness and the stumbling, I think he's got that out of his system. I think he puts it together. And I think after this race, we'll be talking about him, fierceness, rebounding. Maybe Sierra Leone gets better. And, Sierra Leone is a horse I think that needs pace, and that's why I'm playing against him today. Mindframe has the tactical speed. Tactical horses are always better. And I think that's what makes Mindframe my top horse today.
Yeah. And my first pick is Sierra Leone. I just think if you look at his past races, that 114 speed figure that he cranked out in the Breeders' Cup Classic is miles apart from anybody else here. Mindframe's best was on his debut. It was a 106. And, he's been gradually kind of ramping it up a little bit because, again, they don't tighten the screws on these horses earlier in the year, or you have nothing left for the big races late in the year. But he's had a couple of 98s, kind of pushed up to 100. So Todd Pletcher is gradually, getting this guy more into gear and letting a little more juice out of the can. And I think the question for Sierra Leone, is there going to be any kind of pace that materializes? Mindframe obviously has tactical speed. First Mission has some tactical speed. Mystik Dan has some tactical speed. And the question becomes is, will there be any kind of a paced duel where some of these horses tire each other out? I think that's what it's going to take for Sierra Leone to win. And if he doesn't, if Mindframe just kind of creeps away early and isn't challenged, it's going to be hard to stop him. But I do think the speed figures here are close enough as far as the early pace where there's a potential for some pace duel. And I do think Sierra Leone can take advantage of that. I think it's going to probably be, I think it's personally going to wind up being a close race down the stretch with Mindframe leading at the top of the stretch and Sierra Leone stretching to try to get him. I think it could be a very exciting race.
Yeah, that could be the case. And certainly I have a lot of respect for Sierra Leone. I agree with most of what you said there, but I do want to go back and talk to a little bit about the Breeders' Cup, where you're looking at this horse and you're giving him a big speed figure, and you're saying nobody has run near that speed figure. Nobody in this race has ever run a race where they ran 1.25 miles, where the first half was 44-4, and they were 4 horses ding-donging on a track that was favoring closers. And I think that number is one that I would put a big asterisk by for Sierra Leone, because I think all of his other races don't win this race today. And I don't think he gets near that pace today. So we don't agree. We don't always agree, Jay, and that's fine. But I think Mindframe beats Sierra Leone and beats the rest of the field today.
Very, very possible. And it also should be noted that was 1.25 miles, and this is 1.125 miles. And Sierra Leone just isn't going to have as much stretch to work with as he did in the Breeders' Cup. So that has to be factored in as well.
All right. Now you were going to look at another race at Churchill. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm going to give out, we were each going to give out one pick for the viewers. And since we're at Churchill, why don't I do mine next? And we're going to go to race 12. This is the American Derby with some horses that, are probably not Triple Crown material, obviously, since none of them won it. But, there's a talented group of horses nonetheless. The favorite here is number 3, Tistastic. And Tistastic is from Steve Asmussen with Joel Rosario aboard. Tistastic has just recently, as far as this spring, won a grade 2, and this is an ungraded stakes or a listed stakes, as sometimes they call them. So Tistastic, you can certainly make the argument, is the class of the field. Obviously, showed nothing in the Derby, was just clobbered that day. But then a lot of horses get clobbered in the Derby. So, finishing 16 lengths back in the Derby is not necessarily a bad sign like it would be like in some average race. So, Tistastic, I expect to bounce back a little bit here. I think the speed of the race that will control early, because there's not a lot of speed here, is Freedom's Not Free, 7-2 from Mark Glatt and Antonio Ferzu, who certainly do their share of damage on the West Coast. And I do think that Freedom's Not Free is most likely to get the lead. Is that a good thing? Maybe not, because at this trip, at 1.16 miles on the Churchill Downs turf, early speed gets 11% wins. So maybe you don't want to be on the lead. And if you do wind up on the lead, you hopefully are the only one. It's a big field. I think while Freedom's Not Free is probably the speed of the speed, what little speed there is in here, because it's mostly pressers and closers. Again, I think he's gonna really need to get clear to win. So I'm gonna go with and I don't want to overlook Reagan's Wit. Reagan's Wit from the rail just won the J.W. Murphy, and ran pretty well in the Transylvania. Has some of the better speed figures in here, and Reagan's Wit from Sherry DeVoe will be a factor. But the one I like, the interesting one to me, is number 2, Flying Mohawk. Steve, when we did our Kentucky Derby show, I mentioned Flying Mohawk as one that is probably not going to be a contender in the Kentucky Derby, but look at this one for derbies down the line, like the American Derby today. Flying Mohawk, was another horse that just got skunked in the Kentucky Derby, 42 lengths back. On the other hand, that was Flying Mohawk's dirt debut. Clearly not his favorite surface, but his turf record is distinguished, and arguably his best race in his career came right over here on this turf course when he broke his maiden last year, October 27th, winning by 5.5. Before that, as a maiden, they thought enough of him to put him in the Grade 2 Pilgrim, where he set the pace most of the way before fading. And then he ran in the JR Stakes on Torpedo and ran a strong second in that race to Final Gambit. And they were both closing late, and closing is what you want to do on the Churchill Downs lawn. So at 8-1, with a huge rider upgrade from JD Ramos to Frankie Dettori, I'm liking number 2, Flying Mohawk. Post a mild upset here, and yes, wheel the exacta. It's an 8-1 shot with a deep field, 2 with all, and all with 2.
Yeah, I like your case, Jay. I didn't spend a lot of time on this race, to be frank with you. Reagan's Wit down on the inside is obviously going to be one of the favorites, Tistastic as well, but I don't love where they're going to be. That the absolute inside in here is not really an advantage on this track. I would rather be 2, 3, 4, or I'd rather probably be 5, 6, or 7. I don't like that rail draw for Reagan's Wit. I think Flying Mohawk will have every chance in here, and I will wish you the best. Again, I didn't spend a lot of time on this race, but I agree with you. I don't think Freedom's Not Free will be a horse that will hang on unless we get a lot of rain there, where the turf is more yielding, where maybe somebody gets the lead and likes that yielding or softer turf. But that's a guess on whether Freedom's Not Free will handle that.
Yeah, no question about it. I think it'll be a fun race to watch. I think it's a good betting race. I think this is a race where the favorites are not invincible, and whether it's Flying Mohawk or not, this is a good race to take a shot.
Yeah, I think it'll be on the turf in this race, even though there is some rain expected. There's thunderstorms expected all day. It's so hard to predict the weather at Churchill. I mean, I've seen where it's been an absolute downpour an hour before the Derby, and then it's fast by the time they run it. So trying to predict what kind of track there is almost impossible. But on the turf, I think there will be a difference if they get some weather and they get some rain on it. And your horse, Flying Mohawk, has run on a yielding turf, and that'll be the key. Will this horse handle a yielding turf if the course comes up like that? I don't know what it's going to be. There are times when you could get thunderstorms predicted there and you have no rain at all. So I don't know what it's going to be as far as that goes, but this is certainly a contender for sure, and you get a nice price on this horse as well.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely so. So I'm definitely going to be putting a few bucks on him and rooting hard for him because I think he's got a real upset chance here. And Steve, your pick of the week is going to be a race at Los Alamitos tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to do a Friday Los Al race, Jay. I want to mention a couple of our sponsors, people that have really been picking it up here early for us. Merinoshoes.com, folks. Check out the style of these shoes. Very, very good looking shoes, great colors. And they've offered us a little promotion. You can get $10 off of your first purchase. Just use the code Saddle Up. Use the code Saddle Up. Check these shoes out. Merino Shoes, MERINO shoes.com. I also want to mention our sponsor from the Inside Racing Show, a company called Casino House Parties. If you want to have a great party at your house, check out casinohouseparties.com. All over Southern California, they'll come to your house. Bring a crap table, bring blackjack tables, professional dealers, equipment. They also have roulette. Very, very solid company. They do a great job. They'll be at your house for 4 hours and you will have a fun party. Check it out at casinohouseparties.com, 1-888-346-8765, or just simply go to casinohouseparties.com. Take a look at that. But Jay, for me today, we're going to go to Los Alamitos, And it's race 9. Again, I mentioned earlier that speed has been very good at Los Al. This is a great race, and it's really good to see these races, this 9th race tomorrow. It's a state bred optional claimer here. So some of these horses are in for the tag at 20. And also, some of these horses have won a race on turf at the non-winner one level. And the way they are riding these races now, you can win a race on turf and then come back and run on the dirt. And that's the case with my horse, the 3-horse Run for Kidder, 5-1 in the morning line from the Adam Kitchenman barn. I really like this horse's dirt effort at Santa Anita at 5.5 when he was running for 32,000. Those were 3-year-olds, open claimer in that race. I thought he duked it out a little bit, got a little bit tired late, but he has also a good back second here at this track, and I really liked his last 2 turf races. It seems to me, Jay, that since this horse has added Lasix in all 3 starts as a 3-year-old, is really improved each time. Now he's had some time off with a nice work pattern coming in, and he's been gelded. I like that angle. I like the fact that there's a couple speeds to his inside. Should give Run for Kidder a good trip in here. 5-1 in the morning line. I like number 3, Run for Kidder. I'm going to use 3 horses in the exotics. The 2, Brazen Sun, who I think is the speed of the speed. He also has 2 nice wins here at Los Alamitos. The 6-horse Mr. Machu Picchu is going to be a big price in here. This horse has a little bit of talent. I think he's better on dirt. Got a 1-for-15 record, but they probably kept him on turf too long. I'm going to use him, and I'm also going to use the 9-horse in here. And the 9-horse, let me turn the page in here. Poker Night at V's. Poker Night at V's would be the other horse in the race. Possibly the speed of the speed. Speed has been very good. I think Run for Kidder sits right behind him. So I'm going to key the 3, Run for Kidder, with 2, 6, and 9. It's the 3, Run for Kidder, in the 9th race on the Friday card out of Los Al.
Yeah, Steve, and it looks like this is probably the easiest field that Run for Kidder has ever faced, not counting the maiden efforts. And those maiden efforts, especially the Delmar one, was a strong race that he won nicely. So yeah, a lot of times these turf horses obviously can't run on turf at Los Alamitos, and there's a big decline in performance on the dirt. But this one ran against a tougher field, 2 back on the dirt, $32,000 field, led most of the way, and just gave way late. So certainly it looks like this field should be well within Run for Kidder's measure. And as you mentioned, it's often a whole different horse, that first time gelding angle. It's one that we didn't have when we were growing up handicapping. They would kind of keep that information kind of quiet, and now it's like it's in the form and we can see it, and I think that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, it could. I'm gonna pull out an angle from an old friend of mine, a Hall of Famer in the handicapping ranks, a guy named Dennis Cower, who many of you may know. And he really taught me how to handicap Fairplex. I went up to Fairplex, and I had been going to Delmar for years, and I started going to Fairplex as that meet ended. And he liked it when a turf horse was on the inside in a race where they could really make the turns. And it's really important with Los Al to make that tight turn. And this was an angle that he really liked when he would see a turf horse that is running well. Obviously, you got to take the turns on the turf because they're inside. They're on the inner part. And obviously, there's more turns at Fairplex because a 6-furlong race there was a 2-turn race. This is just a 1-turn race, but it's 5.5. It's a quick run to that turn. He's inside. Think he'll be able to make the turn. That's another angle that I like, and maybe something that you folks can use on a future horse, whether this one runs good or not. But Run for Kidder for me in the 9th at Los Al.
Very good. Yeah, I like his chances. So, Steve, of course, we want to mention where they can get our handicapping selections, and you can still get them just like you used to when the radio show is on the air at racingjason.com. A shout out to Jason. Jason is looking like he's been under the weather a little bit, so nothing serious. But we just want to wish Jason the best, and hopefully he's back to full condition very soon. And in the meantime, we can definitely tell you about the picks we have to offer. I'm going to be kind of taking some time for the holiday. I probably will not be on the podcast next week. It's probably going to be Steve's handsome face all by himself, but I will be back, trust me. And yeah, I've been giving out throughout this kind of a transitional meet because we're waiting for the big stuff to start. We can't wait for Del Mar and Saratoga, but I've been doing full cards on Saturday at Los Al. I've also been doing one at Belmont and some best bets here and there on Sundays. And I'll probably be stepping up Sundays when the busy season starts because hey, that's when people want our advice and we want to give it. So I'm looking to more maybe with Sundays when that starts. But this week will be kind of light for me and just look at the site like you've always been doing, and you'll see what picks are available. Steve, what are you going to be offering? Oh, and I wanted to mention that with my Los Alamitos card on Saturday, I will be offering some extra selections from Churchill. You've heard a couple of them today, but I'll be bolstering that Los Alamitos card with some bonus races from Churchill to make it worth your while. And what do you have going, Steve?
I'm going to do the late pick four at Los Al, and we'll probably do at least 3 of those races from Churchill. I have not really looked hard at that turf race that you gave out. That horse that you like might be the one that I end up liking, but I hadn't really given that one my full all in. Didn't realize it that I had printed it out. I thought I hadn't printed it out, and then there it was. I just missed it. So I'll go back and look at that race, get the numbers for that race, and I'll put something together for that race. Hopefully, it'll be the same horses as what you like. I did want to mention one other thing. Jay, for those that are interested, if anybody wants to get involved with a personalized handicapper, this is a service that I'm offering for the very first time. We never did it with the Racing Jason show, and I never did this when I was with Bob Selvin for years with National Turf, or with Felix Taverna on the Thoroughbred Hotline. But I am offering a personalized service for Del Mar if you folks are interested in. What the difference is it's a lot of the same horses, but I can make adjustments. When I see bias, you'll hear about it via text. And on a bad card, I will tell you it's a pass. It's a little more expensive per day, but if it's something that you're interested in and getting a call every morning before the card, you can send a text, or excuse me, you send an email to me at turf31@gmail.com. That's turf31@gmail.com. Just send me your name and your phone number on there, and a little bit about how you like to bet and play, and perhaps we can come together and if I think I can help you, I will be glad to do so. We'll let you know what the costs are for that. It's a little more expensive than my daily full card, which is $25 per day. I do charge $30 per day, but it's not a whole lot more money, and I do think it does offer some extra value for those of you who really want to play. So again, that's turf31@gmail.com.
Very good, Steve. And I would say that is valuable advice. I would say, of all the handicappers in Southern California, nobody has that inside edge and the experience of all those years the way you do. You know that track like the back of your hand. And I would say, our viewers, if you want to take advantage of a terrific service and some terrific advice, give Steve a try. I think you'll be well rewarded for it. So, I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
Just one final thing I want to mention. One of our sponsors is Tri-Level Office Support. Tri-Level Office Support offers bookkeeping, accounting, office administration, and human resources. Grow your business while saving time and money. Tri-Level Office Sup is the Tri-Level Office Sup at gmail.com, and the phone number there is 619-987-6244. That's Tri-Level Office Support. 619-987-6244. If you need some help with bookkeeping or accounting, this is a company that will grow your business. You can grow your business while saving time and money. Tri-Level Office Support.
That's terrific, Steve. And so, anyway, looking forward to your show next week. I'll most likely be watching it from afar as I'll be out of town. But we have some big racing next weekend that makes it worth doing a podcast. We'll have the Gray Lady M, which is usually the highlight of the Los Alamitos meet. It always draws a great field. Copion is projected to go in that one, that great horse from Richard Mandela. And there's a huge card at Belmont Park. Or Belmont at Aqueduct, as we have to call it for another maybe 9, 10 months. Yeah, there's some great graded races. Obviously, this card is this weekend is not one that has a whole lot of bullets because they don't want to go against the big Stephen Foster card, and so they're saving their good stuff for the holiday weekend. So should be a fun podcast, and I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it as well. I've been following Belmont. I've been looking at the charts every day, watching some tapes on the turf races, getting ready for the big meet at Saratoga. Excited, Jay. this is our time of the year to get ready for the big racing that's coming. And boy, oh boy, we'll be going full force in here in what is it, about 3.5 weeks. We'll be right there at Del Mar. I couldn't be more excited, and I will be ready to go.
All right. So enjoy that big Churchill card on Saturday, and we'll see you again next week.